Welcome, hustlers, to the Live Your Lifestyle movement. I'm glad you made the decision to live life on your terms. We help millennials become the directors of their own lives. My name is Austin Varley, and you're going to learn and master tactful strategies, blueprints, lessons, and the ways of the 5% around the world. But first, what's your ideal lifestyle? Now that you know what you want in your future, let's create you a blueprint to achieve it. It's only a matter of time until you are living your ideal lifestyle. All right, welcome, little hustlers, to the Live Your Lifestyle podcast. I have Tyler Harris with us. In 2014, he was unemployed. In 2015, he made $300,000. 2016, he made $450,000 and kept going up. He's one of the best insurance agents in the game. He went from broke to millionaire in 3.5 years. He has two podcasts called The Breadwinner and The Sales Wolves, as well as a daily vlog called The Daily Bread. He gives the best value. People would pay thousands for the knowledge he gives out for free, but you guys hear me enough. So how you doing? Thank you for being on the show, man.
Man, thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just kind of give an insight. Start off with just like a little bit about you, kind of your story a little bit more so everyone can kind of know more about you.
Yeah, man. So Tyler Harris, am I 33 or 34?
You are 33.
30, yeah, just turned 33 years old. And I live in Greenville, South Carolina. And man, so as you mentioned, the last 3.5 years have been crazy for me. Went to school at Clemson University and kind of had a good childhood, good upbringing, good kind of schooling, college, all that. Right out of college, got married, became a financial advisor, was doing really well. And then kind of life just happened to me all very fast and abruptly. Was terminated from a position which a crazy story, but was something that was really out of my control that ended a career that I was really excelling at, and got a divorce, which was tough over a long period of time, and found myself at a very young age, divorced, broke, trying to look for a job, kind of going from sales job to sales job, just not really being able to find anything that I could go all in on. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, I started playing the victim for a while. Just kind of had this like, oh, look at all this stuff that happened to me, and my wife had an affair, and I got terminated from this job, and all these things, and just was honestly completely comfortable in that space. Like, hey, everybody feel bad for me. That's the reason why I'm not motivated anymore. Until finally one day, just kind of had one of those aha moments. And really for me, it was just kind of looking in the mirror and realizing that I had got myself into that situation. Like every bad thing that had happened to me, every bad thing that I had done, the financial situation I was in, it was all my fault. And the encouragement in that was that if I got myself in it, I could get myself out of it. And around that time, some mentors came into my life and really breathed confidence back into me and saw something in me that I didn't yet see in myself again, and just went on this journey towards just personal change. I call it waging war on personal change through self-development and just through working hard again, just straight, absolutely hustling again. And that's when that 3.5 period took place, where going from being unemployed and in debt and to now making good money and crushing it, just whole nother lifestyle. Yeah. So, awesome. And right now moving forward, it's just that feeling of kind of a responsibility. I don't want to say guilt, but it's a responsibility to pay that forward. And that's why with all my social media, I don't sell anything. I'm not monetizing any of it at all. It's just my way of hopefully trying to be that those mentors were to me, to someone else, because I needed it. Like I was in a bad place and they came in and everything changed. And there's so many others that are in a bad place right now that if they can see a random video of mine or hear a random podcast of mine, and it makes that little spark or creates that little bit of action that they needed to move themselves in the right way or make that pivot, then that's what I want to do, man. And so
That's
just
awesome.
coming all in every day with the career in order to be able to do this other stuff on top of it to really just provide value and give back.
I love that. You want to be like the person to give them that perspective shift and to make them, think bigger and to think different. As well as when you just
Exactly.
stated, like having the self-responsibility mindset, which is like, you got yourself in that situation, but you can get yourself out of that situation, which is huge.
Exactly.
So what was your biggest struggle, would you say? Was it like the divorce and like everything coming over, or?
I think the biggest struggle was that fear of going all in again and having it taken away from me. Because I was working hard and I was making good money and then got terminated out of the blue. And I was married and then this divorce happened, and it was just this fear of trying again, and that it could just be taken away from me. And it was, putting myself out there, and it really just led from me going from job to job, and either I would quit or get fired for good reason, because I wasn't putting in the effort that was required. And this is what it was. I wasn't putting in the effort so that I could use the excuse that I wasn't putting in the effort. Like if I'm in a sales job and I get fired or I'm not doing well, I could easily say, but it's because I'm not really trying. Like,
right.
I wasn't really going all in. Like, if I would have gone all in, like I would have crushed it. Like, I would have crushed it if I would have actually tried. I was almost like I was using this as a crutch. And so that was the struggle, was just digging myself out of that mentality and just building my confidence back up and being willing to go all in again. And that's what ultimately I was able to do. And from then on, it's just been, man, it's been a wild ride.
Just momentum, just gain. That job that you got let go off of, was that in like the corporate world?
Yep. Yeah, I was a financial advisor with one of the big, financial
Edward
advising
Jones,
firms.
kind of like style.
Yeah.
Okay.
It actually was at Edward Jones.
Was it?
Yeah. That's funny.
That's funny. I actually, one of my financial advisors, he works with Edward Jones, so that's why it's like one of the first ones that pops
and
up.
They're a fantastic company, and their training is unreal. It's like the number one training in the financial services industry, but it's like number 3 out of any industry in the world. So I have nothing but good things to say. The situation that happened with the termination wasn't really something that they could help, but it was just the situation that surrounded it was out of my control completely. So I don't have any beef with them at all. They're an incredible company. That's
awesome. And that's where you are just because of like your state of mind. A lot of people would be like, oh, screw them, or oh, this and that.
Sure.
Well, that's great. So what is your passion? How did you go from, financial advisor to then, insurance policies?
So, I mean, number one, I think everyone is trying to find what they're passionate about. It seems like it's like this like hot buzzword where like I'm just trying to find my passion, but I was at this event recently. It was called Take Ownership with Gerard Adams and Eric Thomas, and I think it was actually CJ, who is kind of the business kind of back end side of all of Eric Thomas's business endeavors, that got up and said, are you chasing hustle or are you chasing? And then like right when he said that, I was like, passion. Like I thought that was what he was going to say, because that's what like everybody, that's what everybody talks about. But he said, are you chasing hustle or are you chasing gifts?
Okay.
And that really kind of threw me for a loop, because your gifts are your gifts. Like you can get passionate about something, you can certainly lose passion about something, so that will always kind of ebb and flow. But your gifts are your gifts. Like you're born with certain gifts
and strengths
that other people don't have, that you have. Yeah, strengths, abilities, skills, talents. So that really kind of changed my perspective a lot lately on focusing on the things I'm truly gifted at, and then ultimately out of that you'll be able to do the things you're passionate about. But I think there's so many people that are kind of sitting on the sidelines, and they're saying, well, as soon as I get this opportunity that I can be passionate about, and then I'll go all in. Yeah, then I'll take action. And what I constantly am telling people is that opportunity is never going to find you if you're failing where you're at. Like if you're excelling in the opportunity that you're currently in, you'll be in a prime position when a better one comes around. But if perfect opportunity arises and you're just slacking off and not putting any effort, it's going to completely pass you by. So I think you have to be careful when you're trying to search for something that you're passionate about, and just try to search out things where you can use your natural gifts and abilities, and then you can become passionate about where that leads you.
And just go after what you're good at.
Yeah.
All right. So with the whole thing with Edward Jones, is that what kind of made striked up to become like a more entrepreneur, kind of be your own boss because you got fired, or what kind of sparked that up?
Not in like your traditional sense. I know like you hear a lot of stories where people that was the last time, from that moment forward, I vowed that I would never work for anybody again. I know that's like a common theme that you'll hear people, and I don't think it was necessarily that. I just knew that I always wanted to be in a position where I would be paid for what I was worth, and that the time that I put in, I wanted to be directly proportionate to the rewards I got out. And being, whether you call it an entrepreneur or even just like a commission salesperson, that's really the only the way I could find that. And I love that. I love the fact that every month that I had to start over and kill what I was going to eat, it just was really driving for me, and I kind of thrive in that type of environment because it forces the right behavior. There's so many people that are constantly looking for these big commission or salary plus commission jobs. They're like, what's the salary? What's the salary? What's the salary? And not really focused on the commission side. I've been commission only for a long time. And I recommend any organization that should be that way, because people will adjust their actions accordingly. If I know I've got X number of dollars coming in, whether I sell anything or not, it's going to affect my motivation.
Yeah, it kind of demotivates you, kind of gets you to be compliant with okay, at least I have this amount of money coming in.
And a lot of times it's not every single month, but it allows you to not be consistent. It allows you to have a good month and then say, oh, well, let me just kind of slack off this month and I'll just take my salary and then I'll go all in next month. But I think for anyone, to progress in life and really attain anything great, they got to be willing to go in all the time. And 1099 or being an entrepreneur is really the only way to create that.
Oh, yeah. And it's just also even what Grant Cardone says, it's going 10x into every area of your life. I mean, you're making more sales before 7, 8 a.m. before any insurance agent is doing it in the week. So,
yeah, man. And that's it. People try to call me out sometimes because I do a lot of volume. I sell a lot. And people will call me out and be like, how is it possible that you sold 182 life insurance policies? Was that 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago? And I'm like, well, go to my Instagram. I was live at 5 a.m. and I was live that night at midnight, and I was working. It's just
put in
how many
more
hours
work
of the day are you actually working?
Yeah. Plus, I think that's also the best thing is because it's on you, so it forces you to level up when you have 100% commission and everything's on you.
Oh yeah.
So Jim Rohn talks about philosophies. A lot of people have their own philosophies. Do you have any certain philosophies that you live by or that you kind of go through your day to day?
Philosophies that I live by, man. I think the only thing that I could say is, I mean, you already said it. The all in, that's my entire life. It's all about being all in. There's so many people that never truly are on, and so it enables them to never truly be off. And so what I mean by that is when you're completely on, that means you're giving 100% effort, you're all in. And then when the weekend comes or when nighttime comes, they can be 100% off, which means you can spend that time with your family or with your spouse, children, whoever, friends, things like that. And to be completely all in all areas. And that's the only way that I know of balance. This work-life balance thing is so funny to me because the only time you ever hear people really talk about it is people talking about it as a way to discuss working less. The only time people ever bring it up, they're like, man, I got to work on my work-life balance. I think I'm going to have to start working a little less. You never hear somebody Like, man, I have been the most incredible father this month. Next month, I'm not spending near as much time with my daughter. I need to focus on work. You know, like you never hear that side.
They switch
It's
their
always
energy around, or like their focus around.
Yeah, but like people forget that there's two ways to balance the scale. One is taking away, but the other is just adding to it. So my whole thing is like, if you need to spend more time with your family, great. Spend more time with your family. It doesn't mean you need to work less. It may mean you need to sleep less, or you may need to have less leisurely activities, or hanging out with friends. There's other things that you can cut than work. It seems like that's always what people are referencing when they're talking about or complaining about work-life balance. So my whole thing is go all in all areas, and it'll all balance out.
I know, that's awesome. I mean, a lot of people do kind of cut, the workflow. When one of my mentors always taught me, like, because he's talking about, like, Grant says 10x massive action in all areas of your life, being present. So when you're at work, be fully focused and present in work. When you're with your family, be fully focused and present in, like, your family. So you're there.
Absolutely.
So now let's kind of talk about a little bit more like millennials. So you're a millennial yourself. Is there anything you think the millennial generations need to start doing, paying attention to, or needs to know?
The millennials, this whole topic has been discussed so much, and it seems like it's always discussed in this negative connotation, like there's something wrong with this generation. But the reality is every generation said that about the previous one or the next one that was coming up. Right. And so I don't think it's really any different than any of the others. But specifically with millennials, I think people, especially when it comes to like social media, and how much time people are spending on their phones and things like that. I think people don't realize that as disconnected as they may think we are, the reality is we're way more connected than we've ever been. The ability for me to have this conversation with you because of a DM on Instagram or a message on Facebook, we would have never known each other, right?
Yeah.
There are literally hundreds of people that if I had a wall and just put all their profile pictures on it, I could tell you their name, I could tell you a little bit about them, kind of where they're from, and kind of generally what they do. If not for that, like there's no networking event that I can go to every single day to be able to do that. So we're able to connect with people on a whole nother level now, which is actually incredible. But the thing that has to be laid over top of all that is the work ethic. And I think at the end of the day, the only thing that works is work. I love saying that. The only thing that works is work. And that's what's going to make someone successful. It's not their ability to connect. It's not who their parents are, or who they know, or all these other things. At the end of the day, it's going to all boil down to how hard you actually work. And so that's my biggest thing for millennials is the ability to just absolutely work your face off. Like, I mean, I work an insane amount, but I enjoy it. Like I enjoy that process. But it's rare to be able to work, 16, 18, 20-hour days regularly. I think you have to make sure that you're doing something that enables you to work like that and literally just enjoy it. Enjoy that process. And that's what I've done. And that's what I'd love to see more people doing. I love to see more people that are pursuing something that, after a 20-hour day, they look back with a smile, not look back and they're like, God, I never want to do that again.
Right. Oh man, I got to wake up tomorrow and do it again. Like,
yeah. Or like I get to do it again. Yeah. Like I get to versus have to. Like, I mean, that's big for me.
No, yeah. And you've made it like your lifestyle, and you love your lifestyle, and that's kind of what you want to see more millennials do. So with law of attraction, how would you kind of describe it to people, and how would you say it's manifested in your life?
Man, it's just auditing your thoughts. And for me, the biggest thing is just fleeing from negativity. That's the one thing that I think people can make the most immediate change is just eliminating negative people, negative just sources in their life. Like I don't watch the news. Like I don't ever watch the news. And my wife makes fun of me sometimes because I won't know about like huge like world events. Like I didn't know about the eclipse that happened somewhat recently until like the day of, and I was like, "What are these people doing? What are these glasses?"
Everyone's just
Like,
outside.
yeah, like all these crazy things. And I just don't watch it because it's just always negative. And so, kind of monitoring what's what you're allowing into your brain. And there's certain people that I have to tell that to, and like, man, every time I talk to you, it's always negative, and like I just can't do that anymore. So the next time you're negative, like I'm not gonna be able to I'm not gonna be able to talk to you anymore. And I had one that it was negative again, and I just hadn't talked to him since. And that may be a little extreme, but like I'm just so cautious with what I let in, and want it to be all positive and always look at the positive outlook of things. But I mean, a prime perfect example, probably the most pure form of law of attraction, is this daily vlog that I have. So I wanted to start a daily vlog, needed a videographer, had no idea how to find one. I made a Facebook ad or Facebook job post for a videographer. 3 hours later that day, I was on Instagram, got a new follower, randomly when I was scrolling, saw it, and just it caught my eye because it was like TJ Reeves photography or something. And so I was like, oh, photography, maybe it's someone I could possibly talk to about being a videographer. Looked through the photos, they were cool, sent him a DM, and asked if he did any video work. He was on a plane. He sent me a DM back and was like, hey man, I followed you right before I got on this plane. And come to find out, he was searching for the hashtag AskGaryV because he was looking for a Gary Vaynerchuk video to send to a friend of his. Saw my picture, because I use that hashtag all the time. He saw that picture, smart. And that's why he had followed. Yeah, well, that's why he had followed me. So we have an hour and a half phone call that night, and I'm explaining what I'm doing. And I asked him, I said, by any chance, are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk? And this is before I knew that he found me through the AskGaryV hashtag. But he's like, I'm listening to the AskGaryV audiobook right now. And I was watching the AskGaryV show when we were talking. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so we talked that night. And after an hour and a half phone call, he decided to move from Baltimore to Greenville, South Carolina to be our videographer. And like, there's no more law of attraction than that. Like, needing an incredible videographer and finding someone that was the exact person that I needed, all just through me randomly seeing his follow, him randomly seeing me on a hashtag, but like knowing that it's exactly how it was supposed to happen. That's exactly how it was supposed to link up. And ever since, like, you throw two strangers together and make them be with each other 24/7, like, it's never going to end well. But like, it's been perfect. Like, we don't argue. We don't have any issues. Like, it's just been a perfect. The perfect connection. But man, it's super strong. And last thing I'll mention with law of attraction is, it is super important to get specific on the things that you start visualizing. Like, when you start visualizing these successes you want to have, the things you want to attain and earn and all this stuff, like getting extremely specific with them. Like, I mean, it may be cheesy for some people to hear about vision boards, but like, I do vision boards every year. I've actually got my vision board as the wallpaper on my phone. We're on Skype, so you can see it. Everybody else won't be able to see it, but I keep my vision board like on my wallpaper on my phone. Awesome. So it's got like all these things I want to achieve and people I want to meet and partner with, and
things that happen in your life.
Yeah, and I look at it, 1,000 times a day. So it's just powerful, man. It's really powerful.
That's awesome. I actually have my my vision statement was on my phone. It's like written out on my phone, so I see it all the time. I've even created like a vision movie that I watch every morning, just to keep me like motivated. But with law of attraction, so when you're saying like, because you visualize what you want, and then I think something that you can even touch upon as well is like, is being aware of your surroundings. Because once you kind of get clear on what you want, life is going to start throwing stuff at you. But if you're not aware of it and you don't take action on it, you're going to miss it. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. And to take that a step further, so awareness, like you said, being the things that are going on around you. But the most important key is self-awareness, which is how you affect those things that are going around you. Okay. Like, that for me has been one of the biggest keys to my transformation of the last few years, is becoming more self-aware. And that's really just figuring out who you are. Like who is Tyler Harris? At the time, I had no idea. because I was trying to be all these other different things. But figuring out who you are and how you affect others. But it's a lot of times it's like the things that you say, how you think someone is receiving it may be completely different than how they're actually receiving it. And so being able to really dig into that is incredibly important. But like you were saying, being aware of what's going on around you, that's just like being observant is extremely important. And that comes with just being a good listener, I think. So many people, they just want to talk, never listen. I'm actually very introverted when I'm in like public setting, and I'm always just kind of observing everyone and seeing how people interact with one another. But this process of self-awareness has enabled me to be able to then understand kind of how I fit into that environment and how the things that I do will affect the other people around me. And that's been key for me to kind of staying authentic and transparent and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's even actually what your last daily vlog was all about, the being more transparent and being authentic.
Yeah.
Which I think is such a huge key in this day and age, because so many people are trying to be like someone else when, you have to be authentic to really stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, and it's crazy that even we even have to talk about it, because it's just like being yourself. But it's crazy that in this social media world that we have to like applaud people for being themselves. Right. Like, it's crazy.
So what would, if you could tell your 21-year-old self, what would like 3 tips that you would give your 21-year-old self if you were starting all over?
Okay, so the first one, that's a great question. The first thing I would tell myself is man, you are not that cool. Like TJ's laughing. He's like, yeah, you're still not. But yeah, just like you are not that cool. Like I had success early on in my career, and I just became arrogant. I thought I was the king of the world. Like I made 6 figures the first year out of college, and like I thought I was invincible. I thought. Yeah, again, like that was too cool for school. Like, I don't know. But when everything came down on me, it was, I know that was the purpose of it, was to take that all away from me and for me to really kind of get to know the real me. So it's just not taking yourself so seriously, I think is hugely important. The second thing I would say is not caring what other people think. And I think that really goes hand in hand with the first. I was so concerned about like how I looked in front of my friends and how I looked in front of my parents and how I looked in front of my wife and how I looked in front of my coworkers. So I was a completely different person in every one of those settings. I was a different person when I was with my family, different person at work, different person definitely on the weekends and at the bars and out at night, like very different. And that's exhausting. Like it's exhausting when you're trying to be all these different things to different people. But no one's ever going to just quit caring. Like you're always going to care, but not letting other people's opinions, affect what you're doing and affect where you're trying to go and the things that you need to do on a daily basis is hugely important. Like when I started documenting all this stuff on social media, like I got made fun of so much. Like, I had friends that literally were creating videos pretending they were me, like mocking me, like in their car, like, hey, what's up? It's Tyler Harris, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm Tony Robbins, this and that. And I found out about this and I was just like, and it hurt my feelings, obviously, but I didn't let it stop me. Like I didn't let it stop me for 1 second. And it's been the coolest experience now, like a little over a year later of documenting hardcore, like my life on social media, that now a lot of these friends and even family members are coming around. They're like, man, like I didn't get what you were doing, but like now I get it. And man, that's so awesome what you're doing. Like people are actually getting really good value out of this. And like, yeah, exactly. Which has been the coolest experience.
That's awesome.
The third thing I would say, just try as many different things as humanly possible. Back to that whole like chasing passion, chasing gifts, chasing hustle. Like I think you're never going to realize what you're truly supposed to be doing until you go out and try a bunch of different things and look to find it. Like, it's not always going to be like you sit back and you're like, okay, what am I good at?
Right.
I'm good at, baseball. Well, I'm not that good, so I can't be a professional baseball. Okay, I'm good at something that's like a hobby. Well, let's make a career out of that hobby. Okay, we'll try it. Like, just try as many different things. Like, I wish I had done a lot more stuff in the creative side. Like, I wish I had built more skills on the graphic design type stuff, because I really enjoy the creative aspect of what I'm doing now with the social media stuff, but didn't really have a background to enable me to be at that level. But I just enjoy it. So that's one thing I wish I would have done more of. So I think when you're young, you have so much time, and Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this all the time. Like, you can punt your 20s, like you can just try everything and anything during your 20s and still have so much time to become the success you want to be. So I highly recommend people trying as many different things as they can.
And just putting themselves out there and seeing, what kind of traction they gain on something.
And it's almost like the more painful their story or their circumstance was, like the more successful they end up being if they make it through it.
In the beginning, what kept you motivated in the beginning? What inspired you to, work so hard in the beginning to then now where you are in your life? What motivates you now? Because, has it changed, or is it still about the same?
I don't know if it's changed, but I think now I'm basically recreating the feeling that I had before. So that in the beginning, it was like I had to. I didn't have a choice. Like, I was broke, I was in debt, I just gotten remarried, and we were looking at having a kid, and I had to make it work. So there was no choice. I love this phrase, contingency plan unnecessary. Like, I had no safety net. And so now, fast forward 3.5 years, I just try to recreate that feeling. And I think with me, the way I do that is staying competitive. Within our business, we're extremely competitive on, who sells the most policies in a week and in a month and in the quarter. And we always have contests we're running, which kind of keeps that fresh on your mind, keeps you hungry. And I'm just always hungry for more. Yeah, and I'm just always hungry for more. Like, the house that I live in now versus just 3.5 years ago, it's night and day. But I want more. And it's not material things. It's just, because I gave more money away in 2017 than probably double what I made before I got started. Let's see, last year, I probably gave $130,000 away last year.
That's awesome.
And so the things that it's afforded us to be able to do, the lifestyle, and just you always are going to want more. And for me, that's providing more value, because again, not monetizing all this stuff on social media, it costs money. I run Facebook ads. I spent $35,000 last year running ads and different things, building up this platform on all the different social media, and without any revenue. And so that stuff costs money, and we're tripled down. We've committed to a lot of money pumping into that this year. And so everything that I do, it forces me to stay extremely hungry and go out there, because I have to, just like I had to survive back 3.5 years ago. Now I have to do these things that I want to do. And so I think it's important to always kind of hang on to that feeling, like you have to. A new watch, go buy a bunch of stuff, get a bunch of debt. That way you'll actually do something.
Right, then with giving back, how you said, now with you giving back, is that something that you've always kind of been about, or is it something as you've grown, you've kind of just wanted to give back because of the success you had? What kind of sparked that with you?
It's been something I've always been about, man. I'm a Christian. That's a big part of my life. I'm pretty religious, and nice. I don't even like the word religious. I'm just my relationship with God. That's a super important thing to me. And for me, it's tithing. I've always given 10% of what I make back to the church. And the crazy thing is, I did that on unemployment, and I do it now. I've written checks for $30,000+ in a 2-month period, and I've written checks for $50. You know, like I did it at all areas, but like when I was really struggling and broke and in debt, like I never went without, right? Like I was never not provided for. Like I always had food. I always somehow made things work. And so many times like I've given, and then things have happened almost to the penny where I've gotten it back. Like gave when you give and it's a little uncomfortable, I know I want to do this, but man, it's kind of uncomfortable. I don't know if I should. And you give anyway. Sometimes where I'm like, I have something that pops up that I'm like, crap, I got to pay for this medical bill. I didn't realize like it's, $642. And then all of a sudden I randomly, like, I think I'm going to have to pay extra on taxes in that year. And I randomly get a $642 tax refund on the state. Like to the penny. Like things like that have happened throughout my life. And it's just, for me, that's just something like with my beliefs, being a Christian, that I think is important that I just do. And when we give to a bunch of different charities, different organizations that we believe in, our company gives to a ton of organizations that we are hands-on and involved in. And I just strongly believe that to whom much is given, much is required. And that you're blessed to be a blessing, but you're also blessed by being a blessing. Like I've been blessed, and so it's my responsibility to bless other organizations, other people, other things. But by doing so, I'm also then blessed because of it.
At the level you are, I know you got a lot of things going on. How do you stay so focused, as well as how do you like maximize every day and get the most out of your day? Because we all have the same 24 hours in the day, but some people are crushing it.
Man, you said we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but I am just hyper aware of the fact that majority of people are only using like 3 of it. That's my key. Like I squeeze every ounce of every day. And like one thing that's interesting is that I stay on the road like 3 to 4 nights a week.
Okay.
And I'm away from my family. I have an 18-month-old daughter, wife. And when I'm on the road, like I'm away from them. And so I work like 20 hours a day when I'm gone, because what else am I going to do?
Right.
I'm spending this time away from my family, so I want to get the biggest return on that investment, which it's a huge investment for me to be away from them.
Oh yeah.
And so like it's just being willing to put in twice as much time as everybody else, because the average person, when they really audit the amount of time they're actually working, like working, it's so minuscule. It's so much less than they think. I'm just trying to do as much as humanly possible in a day, and it's sick. Like it's crazy, like what we get done in a day. I mean, like the average life insurance salesman sells like 150 policies a year, and I sell over 2,000 policies every year. I think it's sold like 7,500 in the last 3 years,
awesome.
Like face-to-face, one-on-one, and it's just crazy. But on top of that, I've also built, the social media from 0 to 49 million in weekly reach just in the last year. And so like it creates this almost disrespect in my mind of anyone that's like, I don't have the time. Like, you have the time, I promise you. Like,
right.
You have plenty of time. You're just not using it. You're just wasting probably 70% of it.
Oh, yeah. You always make time for what's important for you.
I love that. I always say that. I love that. And for me, like I'm actually in the process of pursuing better ways to prioritize. And like right now, like it sounds crazy, but I don't have a great process as far as like my to-do lists and power lists and, how you prioritize your items throughout the day. I'm just constantly just on it, like almost chaotically looking at like, what can I do now? What can I do now? What more? And at the end of the day, everything ends up getting done. But that's something that I'm working on right now, is really kind of creating an infrastructure quite frankly, to enable me to do that. And that's like bringing TJ on, and we're bringing a couple other people on board, so that we can create an infrastructure to where I can do the things that I know that I'm best at and are supposed to be doing, and I can enable other people to do some of those things that just take time, that aren't necessarily, again, me.
The nitty-gritty work.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's even like something like how, Tim Ferriss talks about, like, or even Michael Gerber in the book E-Myth, like delegating work. And, Peter, I don't know if you know Peter Vugnes, he's actually a buddy of Gerard Adams. He always says, if someone can do something 80% as good as you, get rid of it and delegate it. So
yeah, which is easier said than done. Like, there's a lot of things that I know I need to give up right now, but I just haven't. Just because I still I'm like, man, like when I do it, like I know it's going to be done the right way. Like, we're outsourcing a lot of stuff of mine right now, and that makes me super uncomfortable, but I know it's got to be done. Like, it's the only way to level up. And but yeah, Peter's awesome, dude. He's incredible. Actually, I'm about to embark on some of the stuff that he's doing with music, I think.
Like his mixtape. Yeah, so when I was telling you, like, the thing, because when you said that you listen to that book every day, I listen to Peter's mixtapes every day. I mean, they're always playing on. He's a great guy. But, like, so since you just said how you're still, like, kind of working on, maximizing your days and really getting the best out of that. So you say you're still learning and you're still growing and you're always, like, personal development. So how big do you think that is?
It's the only thing. Like, I just don't understand how someone could not spend a substantial amount of time every week on becoming a better version of themselves. Like, it is everything. And it's not just for your career. It's for your like, as a husband, as a father, as a human being, trying to become a better person. And I'm not a reader. I have the most insane amount of books for not being a reader. And and it's weird. Like, I like buying books. I just hate reading them. But I listen to them. So I listen to a lot of books on audio. And even more than that, I'm very visual. So like video for me, like I'm on YouTube. Like, if someone has a YouTube podcast or YouTube show, if any of their content is done that I can see, like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, I could have someone literally like sitting on video reading their book, and I'd probably comprehend it better than listening to it.
Listen better to
if I can just see them. It's just something about
visual
my eyes being engaged in that process. Yeah, I'm just very visual. So like, I don't watch TV ever. Like ever. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time. But I'm constantly watching. Like, I love Daily V. It's like, I mean, it's some of the best content you can possibly get. And Ask Gary V, like all of Gary's stuff. And then like Impact Theory, I love Tom Bilyeu. Like, he's incredible. And just random stuff. I'll just kind of search different topics on YouTube, and that's some of the best way for me to constantly be learning things and growing as an individual. And I think that gets kind of back to self-awareness. Like, there was for the longest time, like, I read, but I was only reading because everyone told me that, like, you had to read, like, to be successful. Like, so the phrase is, the quote is, not all leaders are readers, or not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And I just like took that to heart. I was like, crap, I gotta freaking read, because I'm not gonna be a leader if I don't. But I'm like reading, and I'm like getting done with 2 pages, and I'm like,
what did I read?
I have no idea what I just read, but I guess I gotta keep reading so I can put this one on my shelf and have the pages look all tattered and like I actually opened it. But
I read that one.
But I think exactly. Everybody consumes content differently, and for me it's that, and it's experiencing things. Like, I'm really big on events now. Like, that's one thing I've really gotten into is going to events and just meeting new people and learning from the people. I've learned more from the mentors that I have than I could ever learn from any book, and a lot of that is just by purely observing them, not having them talk and me sit and listen like they're teaching me some lesson. Just observing how they handle situations, how they interact with other people. That to me is the best way to learn, is through a mentor that's doing or has done the things that you want to do.
That's awesome. And I mean, and also in our day and age, there is so many different ways to gain content, to gain knowledge, and whatever can give you that nugget. Like,
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you got value, hustlers. I know I did. Tyler Harris is a killer. He gives awesome content, some of the stuff I always tune in. So follow his Instagram page at Tyler Harris Page. You can like him on Facebook, tune into his YouTube. He's got the Daily Bread. He's got his podcast. If you really want to level up your game. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to say before you go?
Man, that's it. It just sounds like you got an awesome thing going with your podcast. So I'm super proud of you with that, man, because that's like the people that go out there and take action and don't just, how many times I hear people like, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. But the ones that are actually going out and doing a podcast, man, like I have so much respect for that and respect for the way that you reached out to me. And I was like, of course I'll do it. Let's get on it and let's make it happen. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see what you do as well.
Hey, thank you. And before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for listening and being a part of the Lil Hustler community. I hope you got value from this episode and know what to execute on. Remember, if you stay consistent, it's only a matter of time until you have your ideal lifestyle. If you want to truly elevate your game, go visit www.thelylmovement.com. and click the Lil Wolf tab. I'd greatly appreciate your feedback, so email or leave a review, as well as subscribe to the show. Always be clear on your ideal future lifestyle and what you need to do daily to create it. Thanks again, keep grinding, and I'll see you next week, hustlers.